Hello! I have with me today my stack of bullet journals ranging from 2020 to 2023 because I wanted to talk today about bullet journaling spreads that I never use anymore. I wanted to just share my opinion and also hear from you and see what spreads you guys don't use in your bullet journal anymore. Disclaimer, these are all opinions, and even if a spread doesn't work for me, it could definitely work for you. So take everything with a grain of salt. So the first one I want to talk about is a productivity tracker, and I just flipped to the right page. So here we go. This is November 2020, and I did a classic circle spread. I used to love doing these where I had a key of 4 different colors depending on if I was feeling really productive or not productive at all. Personally, for me, I feel like it's important to, go through cycles of days that you are feeling productive and days that you're not, but I just felt like it was a little redundant to track that. Putting it in a spread like this makes you almost like shame the days that you got a really bad productive day. Like, it's totally normal to have days that you're just like chilling on the couch, but if you're tracking productivity like this, it's almost like you're forcing yourself to be super productive every day. So I felt like this was just an unnecessary spread, unnecessary pressure on myself, and I just didn't really need it. So I stopped using it. Going along the trackers, because I have multiple trackers that I've tried and not used, I also have stopped using mood trackers. In July, I called it a motivation tracker. So at the top, I have my habits, and at the bottom, I have this picture. And depending on my motivation, again, we have another key on the side, then I would color in depending on. And this was a very similar situation of, I feel like it's kind of unnecessary and extra pressure on yourself. Again, it's okay to have days when you're just not having motivation or you're not in a great mood. Also, as you can see, I didn't even finish this tracker. I kind of gave up on these last couple days and I just didn't finish using it at the end of the month. So obviously, even during this time, I realized it just wasn't the most useful page for me and I've stopped using it. Okay, so the next spread that I stopped using is also in this journal, and that is planning for my business. So I made this spread in 2021 where I had my Etsy planning on the right, although my Etsy shop is closed now, and my YouTube planning on the left. And I would have like brainstorming ideas, milestones to hit, and just general planning for current things. And I feel like that is still like important, but if you know me, if you've watched any of my videos recently, you know that I now have a Notion page. And so I have a much more complex way of planning, scheduling, content ideas, affiliate everything, putting milestones, like that's all digitized. And I feel like that's a lot easier because I'm putting out so much content, at least 2 reels and probably 1 YouTube video every week. So a page like this was not going to be enough space to plan for the 6 months that this journal holds. I just felt like it was a lot easier to categorize things digitally, and I just don't really need it in my journal anymore. Speaking of social media, however, I got onto TikTok in the beginning of February 2022, and so because I was balancing both TikTok and Instagram, I made a social media tracker in my bullet journal. So here I had just a quick little calendar and ideas for Instagram, ideas for TikTok, and then I used the different colors to indicate what days I was posting which video. And as you can see, it really was like a week-long thing. I kind of gave up towards the end of the month. And also TikTok I found was like an awful platform. I mean, okay, we kind of already knew this. I hated the way that you made videos. I hated like the software, I guess. And obviously TikTok has definitely had its controversy. So I'm not on TikTok right now. I don't even have an account. But for the 1.5 weeks in February last year that I was really dedicated to posting at least a video a day, this is how I planned things. But now, even if I did go on TikTok, I would just plan things on Notion again. And currently I post all of my shorts on YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels, so I don't need anything in my journal to help me plan that. Speaking of Instagram and social media, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel, I post bullet journaling and YouTube videos every week, so definitely subscribe below. And as always, all of my social media links, Goodreads, Storygraph, Instagram, Pinterest, everything's in the description box below, so you can go check it out over there. Okay, going into my oldest journal again. This is my first ever bullet journal, so it was like really exciting for me to just open these pages and start writing down every spread I saw online. My motivation was like through the roof. So this was a spread that I made. I have spaces for recipes I want to make, songs that I want to, I guess, listen to, I don't know, television/movies, and then books that I want to read. I will say, looking back at this list, I did get most of it done. Overall, this was just like a useless spread for me. I mean, my tastes are going to really change from January to December as far as, books I want to read, movies I want to watch, stuff like that. If I have a show coming out that I want to see, I usually just put a reminder on my phone when the show comes out. And then I have an entire Goodreads and Storygraph where I track all of the books that I want to read. All of my reading stuff is over there. So I really didn't need a page like this anyway. And I haven't used it since 2020, but I do think it was like a cute little page to make as I was first starting out bullet journaling. And it's not a bad idea. It's just like kind of not useful to me. Okay, on a similar note, I used to make playlist spreads all the time, especially whenever I was doing a lot of collaborations on Instagram. So this is the playlist spread, not this, but this side. I think it's just like so pretty, you know? I loved this theme for February, so the flowers, whatever, are just super nice. And these are songs that I actually never listen to anymore, so I do think this is actually a really good idea because it's fun to go back and see what kind of songs I was listening to at this point in my life, you know? But recently my bullet journal has been like primarily functional, so I never really have time to make spreads that are like, you know, just fun, like cute little spreads like this, like a playlist, you know? It's obviously not useful, but it's definitely creative and fun. And honestly, this is a spread that I definitely would make again if I had, you know, a couple extra minutes and motivation to do so. I mean, I could make a March 2023 playlist. I mean, you know, I think that'd be really fun. It's just that I haven't done it in a while because I haven't had the time, but it's definitely a spread I side with. I would definitely go back to this. Okay, so talking about books once again, 2020, like I mentioned, I was very much into like hardcore bullet journaling, and this was also the year that I read my all-time favorite fantasy series, Son of Glass. If you are a Sarah J. Maas fan, hit me up in the comments because I would love to just talk about this series for the rest of my life, TBH. If you're not a Sarah J. Maas fan, in fact, if you're a Sarah J. Maas hater, this may not be the channel for you. I'm sorry. She's an icon, she's a queen, she's a legend, and this series was everything. Not me fangirling. Anyway, but because I finished this series in April of 2020, I decided to make an entire spread about it. So look at this spread in all of her glory. I literally put it on Pinterest, and I have like so many people saving this, even like 3 years later. Not to flex, but I actually love this spread. Like, it has all the pictures of the cadre and all of the main characters and all these like quotes, and I spent like 2 hours on this and I'm so proud of it. However, do you think I have the time right now to make a spread for every series or every book that I read? Absolutely not. So I love this spread, and I love the idea of making a spread about a favorite book series or a favorite movie series or whatever, but I just, again, I've not had time for it recently. So the last spread I want to talk about as far as books goes is reading journals. So if you didn't see my reading journal setup a couple weeks ago that I posted, I'll put it in the description box below so you can go check it out. But just as a little sneak peek, I'll show you the cover page that I made, and it's actually not in this journal. What am I doing? So here is the cover page. I think it's super pretty. I just did a cute little like mood board, put reading journal on it, and then in the next couple pages I did a reading journal setup. So again, that video is down below, but I feel like reading journals are super cool, and I feel like if you have time for them, they're really fun, really pretty, and I feel like they're pretty useful. But personally for me, like I said, everything's on Goodreads and Storygraph, and I don't really have time to make detailed spreads of my monthly TBRs or whatever when I really can just put it on the app in like one click, you know? Alas, I just don't use it much anymore. So the next one I want to talk about is quote pages. If you're in the bullet journaling world, these are so popular. One of my favorite quote pages of all time was January 2021 because I did this theme of the magic. So ignore the weekly spread, but this is a quote page over here, and I just love how it turned out. I literally designed it myself, and I used all different fonts of calligraphy, and I pulled in the dice and like the spades and everything from the cards. Like, you know, it tied in the theme together. The quote says, "The new year stands before us like a chapter in a book waiting to be written. Melody Beatty." I don't know, it's just super cute, and I love how this turned out. And even like when I was thinking about quote pages of like what to put in this video, I was like immediately thought of my January 2021 quote page because I love just like the layout of everything here. I feel like once again this is something that I definitely would do. However, it's not a very functional spread, and again, I have not really done much else except functional weekly spreads in my bullet journaling recently. I feel like I'm not really a huge quote girly. Like, if I find a quote that really resonates with me, like I will stick with it. But most times when I'm like scrolling through Pinterest looking for quote ideas, they're all just, you know, the cringy like grow and bloom and find your path and stuff like that, and I'm just like, they just don't speak to me. So if it's not really a quote that really deeply resonates with me, it's probably not going to go in my bullet journal, you know what I mean? Okay, so then this spread I want to talk about, the one I don't use, is the month in review spread. Let me go to April 2022, and here at the end of the month I had a monthly recap section over here. Basically just like a little journal sesh where I talked about my most significant event, my most challenging situation, how am I different, and what is my focus for the next month or May. I can appreciate journaling girlies, you know, who like journal every day, every morning. Personally, I don't have the time for that, but I do like the idea of a monthly recap because, you know, you can kind of go over how your month went. It's also really fun to look back on. Like, I'm reading this right now and I'm just like, I remember this. And also, like, in the time being, it's probably good to like reflect on the past 30 days. It only takes like 10 minutes, you know, to make a quick little spread, put a couple headers in there, and then journal for a second about like what went well with the month. I will say on Notion, I do have a goals planning spread where I'm going to do quarterly recaps. However, I might bring this one back because I feel like this is actually a spread that could have a lot of use, so we never know. Anyway, so those are some spreads that I never use in my bullet journal. Let me know if you want a part 2, because I probably can find some more that I've made that I don't really use anymore. But again, not all of them are bad. Some of them I might even use again. I just currently don't really use them very much right now. As I said before, definitely subscribe below because I post bullet journaling and productivity videos every week. And if you want to see more of yours truly, then definitely subscribe. And with that, I hope you guys have the most amazing day. And if you want to check out my last video where I talked about 7 tips to make bullet journaling easier, check out this video here on the screen.